All right, joining me all the way from Maryland, I got Mr. Ron Vento of Aurora Borealis. How you doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Glad I could be on your show. I appreciate you having me on it, man.
Oh, dude, the pleasure is all mine on this end, dude.
Great. Thank you.
Ever since I've you told me about your band, or I've been like just doing my homework, fucking just doing my due diligence on everything that's Aurora Borealis, and I can't believe that I've been slow on the intake because this shit you've been doing since 1995 is
Yeah, man.
nothing shy of fucking brutal, fast, violent. I mean, it checks all the fucking boxes. So
Thank you.
dude, like I'm a fucking fan. I'm about to buy the entire digital discography right now, dude. Like,
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been around for a long time. I guess this is I guess 30 years, man, since the first one, man. Yeah, not about 30 years. We had a demo a little bit before that, but so technically 30, 31 years, yeah.
yeah, man, you've been going on. I mean, you've been doing this for a hot minute, and you could definitely hear all the fucking attention to detail. We could hear. I mean, I could hear just like every single note, like in picture perfect clarity. I mean, that I guess that happens whenever you own your own professional studio. We'll
Yeah,
talk about that later.
yeah, sure.
But but man, yeah, I mean every sound that comes off these MP3s, I mean it's just nothing shy of fucking just brutal, like I said, um, and just unrelenting, fast paced. I mean blast
The
beat.
goal.
It's fucking awesome, dude. So
Yeah, they progressively get a little better over the years. You can hear the progression of me just finagling and learning how to do stuff. But the first one, actually, I did it with legendary Scott Burns down in Tampa, Florida. So the first one was just good for its day, and
mhm.
then I decided to try my hand at it, and it was a disaster. And then it gets progressively better. But even the early ones are pretty awesome. I mean, if you overlook some of the production quality.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, to me, it's just I mean, yeah, it definitely the sound and the recording definitely got better with each release,
Great.
and it just goes to show just how in tune and how astute you are to the recording process
Thank you.
and your musicianship, dude. I mean, fuck, I didn't even talk about that yet. I mean, the it you're no slouch when it comes to the riff writing and everything that goes with that too.
Man, I just practice tons. I literally just sit around practicing a lot of times. When I was a little kid, while other kids were outside or playing video games, that dumb shit, I was logging like a practice log of my guitar playing. You know what I mean? Like I was just putting the same amount of time as a job into playing, and I'm still not the best player, but certainly not the worst.
No, no, by no means you're not the worst, dude, not at all. And but yeah, let's talk about, how what was life like, what's life like, back in the day for you coming up as a kid? Like what got you into pursuing music and wanting to be a musician and all that good stuff?
And what's funny is when I was a kid, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, like really close to the city or what have you.
Hmm.
So, right when I was in middle school, man, I met my first true guy that was into at least rock and metal and things like that. So let's say like 13, 14, somewhere around that age or whatever. And this dude, same as every old guy like me, man, same, oh, you heard Kiss, and it was like, what in the hell is this? And then from there, it was just a skyrocket. Let me find the next heaviest thing, the next heaviest thing, the next heaviest thing. Nothing was ever heavy enough. And then I mean, all the way back to bands like, I went to a Tower Records and saw like a Cannibal Corpse record, Eating Back to Life. I'm like, what the hell is this, man? I put it in, and it was almost comical. You know what I mean? It was almost,
Yeah.
and then I was like, it started to grow on me, and that started growing me, and then from there, my real influences started coming in when I started listening to like the Scandinavian stuff and black metal, all the Norwegian black metal, all like just that kind of stuff. Really, with the melody, they combine the speed and the aggression, but with melody and like what I call, songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like regular songs, but just put into a metal form. You know what I mean? As opposed to just like some of the technical stuff where it's just riff after riff after riff after riff after riff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I can't play as good as those tech guys, but man, there's something to be said about melody and songwriting. So all that stuff sort of just influenced me over the years. And I really can't forget, the early thrash bands, man. Like, gosh, dude, like Coroner and Creator and Sodom and like all those bands like that, they were heavily influenced on me because even though all the guys over here were into their Megadeths and their Anthraxes and all the, stuff like that, I was never, I mean, I do like those bands, don't get me wrong, but I was more into like, if I'm listening to American thrash, stuff like Forbidden,
Right.
Death Angel, something like that. But it was always more the Euro stuff, always,
Yeah, same here, man. When we first hooked up on in the DMs, we just basically just shared that same love for like
Yeah.
everything Scandinavian, like dissection
Oh, that's the
and
best.
yeah, dude. I mean, when it comes to Swedish, blackened death metal or whatever you want to classify them, I just call them as extreme as it gets. I mean, they're uh, the late John's guitar work, his musicianship, and I mean,
Yeah.
even, the lyrical themes that he would put down on those records are
Oh,
just
man.
amazing, man. It's just
I don't think it's much better than the first few dissection records, man. There's really not a lot of stuff that competes with that.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and the fact that you took your influences of that thrash metal element and combined your love for things of like dissection, and just meld them together with Aurora Borealis. You can hear that influence like clear as day. Uh, you know, uh, you say you're not one of the one of the best guitar players. I call bullshit on that because I mean it's technical. It's like the songs are technical when it should be, and you're able to pull back on just like straight up like just primitive like riff,
Yeah.
like just ride on a riff, and and let like me just let that shit kind of take shape on its own merit.
Yeah. Well, that goes right back to what I was saying earlier. It's not just, cram 300 riffs into a song. It's not about that for me. It's more about a structured song, a format, where it's still, it sounds aggressive, it sounds intense, but, the riffs come back around and they grab you. There's parts that you can say, oh, here comes that part again or something like that. But yeah. And, especially in the early days, we had a tendency to ride riffs for a bit. We do the whole 4 times per riff thing. And then the songwriting got progressively a little bit better. But, of course, I can sit around and write 500 riffs and cram them into a song. It just wouldn't be a song to me then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally understand that, man. And with every release that you've had over the years since 1995, and the last full release was back in with the prophecy is the mode in which history is
Yep.
poured in 2022. The production value has gotten extremely higher,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just because you've learned and you've grown as a musician
Right. Right. Right.
and a recorder, producer, an engineer, even, So
And the gear got better progressively over the years too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
at one point, we're recording on like just a raggedy old Mackie analog, and or some ADATs or something like that. And then as the studio grows, we progressively get better equipment and better gear. And then so you can almost hear like, yeah, the engineering's gotten better too, but it's also that the tools around me have gotten better over the years as well. And I do think that Prophecy record, I think that's a pretty strong record as far as production goes.
oh
I
yeah,
like it a lot for sure. And I don't mean to say I like my own stuff, but hell, if you don't like your own stuff, then just stop. You know what I mean? You should like your own stuff. You know what I mean?
right, right. I totally agree with that, man. I mean, there's like some things, writing my, I share with you some of the, primitive riffs that I
Yeah.
played, and like I was
Those
very
things.
reluctant to even show you that because I was like, dude, this dude is like so accomplished in his guitar skills. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ugh," and like I said, you know what? This is like one of the best things that I put together. So why not share it with Ron? And so I was really thankful for your compliments on that. Uh,
That was killer, by the way. I don't. People that know me, we're just kind of getting to know each other here. But
yeah,
people that know me knows I don't typically bullshit. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't even come to my studio because I'll be like, "Yo, this sucks. You need to redo this. You need to redo that." I thought what you sent me was really killer, and and not that the production was good or bad. I sort of always overlooked the production
mhm.
because you got to focus on what's there, the substance behind it. You don't, anyone can take it and record it and make it sound this way or that way or whatever. But if you don't have something to begin with, then you got nothing. So as long as that structure's there and the riffs are there and the playing ability is there, the production is just irrelevant to me. Which is why some of that old, the really 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 old black metal stuff, man, I don't care how it sounds. I just think it's badass, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. For me, like with the exception of Dissection and like some Immortal records,
Yeah.
like I always fall back. Every episode I mentioned Dark Throne because that's just kind of how I
Yeah.
came up. And
Cool.
like with like Dark Throne and Gorgoroth and that in the
Yeah.
classic Mayhem stuff, I was
Yep.
always attuned to that raw sounding, just cold, fucking
Yep.
like desperation black metal, and I was like I always clung to that, and I just knew from an early standpoint that I'm probably won't be the most technical guitar player
Yeah.
ever,
But neither are they. Neither are they, man. It's just great, you know?
and I'm okay with that.
You should be. Well, I mean, I think if you asked any of those guys, I mean, if you're talking about the Dark Throne guys or the Mayhem guys or the Gorgoroth guys or any of that stuff, or hell, even like now, even with the Dark Funeral stuff, none of that stuff is technical. None of it's over the top. But man, it delivers a feel. I
Yeah,
mean, you feel it. It's not like I'm never listening for technical ability, which is why technical bands sort of bore me. It just kind of gets old listening to how badass you can be
right.
rather than, what's the feeling you get from it, you
Yes,
know? And
yes.
that's why I say, man, it's kind of irrelevant how good or bad somebody plays as long as they can write a song, you know?
I totally agree with that, man. And I like for you to like just kind of embellish on like how growing up and you practicing every day as a guitar player, like what was that transition like going like starting to your own band? Like let
Yeah,
the
I got
audience know how that transpired for you.
What's funny is, like I said, I was listening to some like early Kiss or something. I was, 13 or something like that. And then I finally found a drummer. His dad was in the military, moved into the area, and we just started a thrash band, And I still, believe it or not, I still have, you know, demos from that thrash band we did. We sort of jumped in right to thrash. There was no real progression between we're going to play rock and roll, we're going to play heavy rock, we're going to play Metallica rock, we're going to play. It was right in. We
Yeah.
tried to play thrash metal, and like I said, we were trying to emulate Euro thrash metal. We thought Sodom was like the best thing ever, so we sort of jumped right into it. And listening back, of course, it sounds a little quirky here and there, but it's really not bad. And what's funny is there was like a 3 or 4 song demo. There's 2 or 3 riffs, even from that first band I was in that made it to my first Aurora EP.
Wow.
So, and I was always scared to put stuff out until I realized, like, until I knew that it was going to be at least, I don't want to say acceptable because I don't really care if people accept it or not.
Yeah.
It was at least up to a standard where somebody could listen to it and say, man, they couldn't say this guy has no clue what he's doing. So I didn't release any of that early demo stuff ever. It was right in, started thrash metal band, and of course the drummer fell off. He couldn't keep up. Other people fell in and fell out, and I moved down to Tampa, Florida, and so we went right from thrash right into, I guess, if you want to call it semi black death thrash. And I found a drummer in Florida, and then that was it, man. Like we went right into Morristown. The guy told me a guy named Tony Laureano. I don't know if you know him as a drummer, but he's like, he's played for Demi Borgir. He's played for Angel Corpse. He's played for like some of the best bands in the world. And he was like a springboard for me because he had some connections down there. So as far as progression goes, it was me, thrash band, technical, I mean, semi-tech, Black Death
Yeah.
instantly.
And how old were you whenever you made that move to Tampa?
Well, let's see. If we call this the 30-year anniversary, I'm 50, 40, 30, 20. So let's say 18, like
Wow.
right 19, right out of high school. So that'd be 30 years now. And I just left like high school when I was right out of high school, and I was like, yo, I gotta get some musicians that can really, keep up and not necessarily that can keep up from a, learning or technical standpoint, but people that were really trying to do it. As opposed to just have little fun with it. I just wanted to do it for real. And at that time, you probably remember, Tampa, Florida was like the
Yeah.
death metal capital of the whole
It
world.
was yeah, fucking ground zero for death metal.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like Tampa and fucking Sweden.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
it. That's exactly right. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to Sweden, but I can certainly go to Tampa. And I swear to you, man, like I went in this one warehouse and it was like Cannibal Corpse, Monstrosity, Brutality. I mean, just imagine all of those bands right in one warehouse.
That's
And it
fucking
was like
crazy.
crazy, man. And I was practicing with the drummer from, do you remember Brutality, that band
Yes.
Brutality, the
Yes.
Relapse Records band? So I was practicing with that drummer. His name was Jim. And I was just frustrated with him because we practice, we do a song or two, and he's like, let's go outside and smoke, man. And so he'd get high a lot or whatever, which I don't give a shit what anybody does. But I'm like, yo, I'm trying to practice, man. I got to go into Morrisound. I got to record a record. At that time, we didn't know it was Morrisound, but I was like, I got to record a record. I got to record a record. So on one of our breaks, I was hearing this dude play, and he was coming from the Cannibal Corpse warehouse. And I was like, man, that dude is crazy good. And later on that night, I was over. You remember a band called Monstrosity?
Yep.
So I
Yep.
was over the drummer's house for Monstrosity, and I was like, "Yo, who's that?" I heard this dude over there playing, and I was like, "Who is that guy?" He said, "I was on the phone with him. I'm sorry, I wasn't at his house at that point." I was like, "Who is that guy?" He's like, "Oh, that's Tony. He's sitting here with me right now." I was like, "What are you doing? Like, this is crazy?" So we hooked up. He said he could play the stuff. I showed him the 5 songs, and I said, "How long you need to do this, man?" And he was like, "Oh, I just need a few days." And of course, I was like, "You're just, you're full of crap, man. You're not
Yeah.
gonna learn this that fast." So
Yeah.
I came back in 3 days or 4 days, and he was just blazing through it, man. That guy is like, I mean, a lot of people consider him one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. If you're not for, just check him out. If you're not familiar, he's insane, man. He's played with some of the best in the world, and I've always been fortunate with drummers. I played with Derek Roddy, who's also like a top tier guy. I played with Tim Young, who's a top tier. All these guys played in Morbid Angel, Hated Turn, like all these giant bands, and I've been so fortunate because they've been like friends of mine. It's
Yeah.
not like I've ever had to say, "Hey, let me pay you to do this." It's always been like a love for the music on why we did
That's
it,
that's
and
amazing.
those guys really helped me, man. Like they were top tier guys. They pushed me rather than me pushing them. They brought me to a different level. So I credit them a lot with like the musicianship and things like that for sure.
For sure, man. Yeah. And was there like back in those Tampa days, being in the same warehouse, like did everyone kind of just like, if your practice was done, did you like, scurry over to the like another band like
Yeah,
Morbid Angel, just like check them out and like, just kind of
sure.
like, not steal ideas, but just like get an idea of what they were doing. Like how can I translate some of this into
Yeah.
what I'm doing?
What's funny, there was really nobody was really worried about stealing anything or anything. It was more like just people hanging out.
Yeah.
And it was literally that. Like, so, they try not to interrupt each other or whatever, but okay, this band's done. Cannibal Corpse is done. What's Monstrosity doing? What's this band? And I remember just sitting on top of my van just with open bays, just like, man, I can't believe I'm sitting here watching these guys, because I
Yeah.
was a kid from Maryland, and they really welcomed me, and everybody was cool, and there was no like animosity, there was no theft. Nobody was really worried about who's got what copyrighted and all that. This is back in the day,
Yeah.
everybody took bad record deals. No one even really understood what a deal was or what it was about. People were signing away merchandising rights and things like that, just things you don't do. I mean, nobody was really worried about it. But
Yeah, it's definitely a different time then, and like and we're in this age where a lot of bands are like doing reunion shows or doing tribute shows, and
yeah,
and like a lot of like you said, like a lot of these bands were signing their rights away as far as merch is concerned and stuff like that. And it's like now it's like man, it's like who's making all the money? The
right, right.
bands or the labels and like all these shisty lawyers and shit like that who took advantage of a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds
Yeah.
who were just like fucking like being innovators at the time.
The worst was, how many Cannibal Corpse shirts have you seen? I mean, Lord, thousands in your day.
Thousands. Thousands, man.
Well, they signed their rights away to Blue Grape. Remember, I don't know if you remember Blue Grape merchandising. They
Yeah,
signed their
yeah,
rights
yeah. They
away.
had the little magazines and shit.
I don't know how many, like, I don't know how many thousands upon thousands Cannibal lost by signing over their merchandising. Of course, I'm sure they have it back now or what have you, but man, I mean, they were the biggest seller of t-shirts of all time next to like I mean, now like a Cradle of Filth or something. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the guys that he just owns his own merch company and he's just pumping them out like nonstop.
Yeah, no shit, dude. So, when did you leave Tampa?
Well, see, it was weird. I was sort of staying in Tampa. Like sometimes I'd be with Jim and his like little trailer thing or whatever.
Mhm.
But I also had a apartment in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I was like back and forth a lot, because it's not a super long drive back and forth there. So I'd go down to Tampa for a week, week and a half, and I'd go back to my apartment for a week, and I'd be. It was almost like I was in two different spots. Sometimes we showering in the truck stop, whatever we had to do, because at that time Jim lived with his parents. So it was like, man, I don't feel kind of weird up in your parents' house like that. But yeah. So it wasn't that I left or went. So really, I lived in Maryland. Okay, then I went down to Atlanta. The
Okay.
first place I moved was Atlanta, and then I went to a school out there called the Atlanta Institute of Music. It was like a prep school for GIT. I don't know if you remember that Guitar Institute, whatever.
Yeah, isn't it in California?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It was
Yeah.
so they were like a prep school because they weren't accredited. So they didn't have the same clout as like a GIT, but I was like, I can't afford GIT, man. So I
Mhm.
went down to the Atlanta Institute of Music, and I was really close to Tampa. And I was like, yo, I'm going to Tampa. This is where it's at. So I was kind of like just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I didn't really leave Tampa, but I never really went to Tampa. So it was like right after, like literally right after I graduated high school, I went to Atlanta. I played with a band called Lestragus Nosferatu, or Nosferatus, people say. It was like a black death metal band. It's a really cool band. Do you remember a band called Hallows Eve?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I might get, yeah, Hollows
they,
Eve.
they were thrash metal band, and they were one of the few bands that made it to like a major label. So everybody thought they were just going to be the next giant thing. Well, I played in a band with one of the original members of Hallows Eve, and he's still a friend of mine to today. But his technical ability, it wouldn't play, like he wouldn't enable him to play what I was trying to play.
Right.
So I ended up playing mostly his songs, and I tried to incorporate a song or two, and he couldn't really do it. And then it just didn't work out too well. And that's when so within a year, I went down to Tampa, and so that's how it transpired. So Maryland to Atlanta to Tampa.
Yeah. So, and what all this time you're in Tampa, ground zero of, basically, a Floridian death metal. I mean, you got everyone down there who, for all intents and purposes, everything was like gore and
Yeah.
death and
Yep.
brutality and like,
Yep.
every satanic, even with more of an angel, things like that. You decided to go a different route with Aurora Borealis. And what was the inspiration for that?
Well, obviously, like I appreciate all the gore stuff and all. I appreciate it. It's just not me. Like I'm into the more majestic things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like when you listen to you remember the band like Dawn? Remember that band
Hmm.
Dawn? How they're just running these arpeggios and they're just really smooth sounding. And every time you looked at one of their covers, it was more majestic. It looked magical and it looked grand and it just looked like something.
All right.
So I'm like, I'm not into this gore stuff, but I'm into what these guys are doing. So I don't want to follow the same path that the Tampa guys are doing. And it was a very conscious decision.
Yeah.
So I said, man, I'm thinking about names, and I'm like, I don't wanna have a gore name. I don't want to have a Satan name. I don't. What's kind of pretty? What's kind of magical?
Hmm.
Well, the Aurora Borealis are
What's up?
magical, right?
What's up? The Northern Lights. There's
Yeah, they're
more beautiful
killers.
than that.
So not only are they beautiful, but they're really chaotic, man. They're unpredictable. So it's like, man, that name is like right on the money because I create like this majestic, well, I thought, this majestic, beautiful music because black metal is beautiful to me.
Same
And
here.
then it's like, but also it's chaos. You're not really, it's not meant to understand like the predictability of it. I mean, still I'm writing songs, but you know what I mean? It's aggressive. If you look at the lights and they're zipping this way and that, they're beautiful, but man,
Yeah.
they're chaotic. So I was like, that's it. That's a perfect name for me. That's a perfect style for me. And the first record, we ended up writing more about history, and the first whole record is about Egypt.
Hmm.
And I like to think I was doing it before Nile, but then Nile came out with Festivals of Atonement, and I was like, well, there's nobody that's going to do this better than Nile, right? And
Right.
and they stuck with it forever. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like as much as I appreciate this, it's not something that I'm going to try to follow Nile. So I switched it up again, and I was like, okay, let me just write about basic history for a bit, and I try to find different pieces of history that whether it be Vikings or dynasties in China or whatever. But also, my father, he was a NASA scientist, so I grew up on space, man. You know what I mean? Like
Hell,
I was always visiting the Goddard Space Flight Center, and I was seeing satellites being built, and I was watching these things, and hearing these guys talking about craziest stuff, man. Just the most smart guys you could. My father's one of the smartest guys. Or, he was. He's doing not too good right now, but he was really intelligent. And the people that he would hang around, I was like, man, space, like that's what it's about, space. So then you'll notice, very early on, it switches from history to like space, and then I started writing like true space. I started writing an album about true space, and then I'd write a sci-fi story, with like
mhm,
world shapers. It's mostly true, mixed with a lot of my feelings about space, and it's really a sci-fi book, if you really want to call it that.
mhm.
And then there's hints in that one that, like, one phrase in that one leads to a whole nother album. So it's really crazy when you start reading the lyrics. Like, one line from this record spawns an entire themed record from the next one. And then I started writing all these themed albums, which were like long stories, 10, 11 songs of just cohesive stories rather than a
Right.
bunch of little tidbits and pieces. And that's what I did for the longest time. And there's a new record about to come out, as soon as, probably a few months from now. Honestly, it's already, the deal's done. It's already, in the works or whatever. But then I went back now to writing individual songs for this new record that's coming out. I
Dude, like
I
you're
don't know what the original question was. I'm
Oh
just
no,
running
no.
my
I,
mouth
I
here.
I appreciate you talking about it and and just expounding on the lyrical content and the history behind these records. I was just sitting here thinking that you're the second person I've had on the podcast that their father worked for NASA and
Uh,
they have their own studio. The first one being Jared Pritchard.
Hold on. Who is that? Let me see. Jared Pritchard. Do I know him? Do I know him? What band? Who is he?
He done a lot of work with Goat Whore as recording engineer and producer.
Okay.
Also
Okay.
with 1349 as well.
Dude,
He has a
I
band Polka Morte, I believe it's called.
don't know them, but I'm gonna check them out. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and yeah, he does live sound for like every freaking extreme metal band that I could think of.
Well,
And
I didn't. The reason I probably didn't catch that name is because I dropped out of the live scene for like 20 years. I just completely dropped out and just did studio work for like 20 years straight. I told myself I was not playing anymore because it was just some things that was happening, and I just didn't want to play at the time. But as you know, just from other discussions we've had, I started playing out again, and it's like I got the right guys, and it's so wonderful and magical, and it's awesome again. So that's I can't say I'm super familiar with a lot of the sound guys out there, but
yeah,
I'm sure he's like me. I'm sure he's very meticulous and
very,
mathematical and
very.
all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very methodical, very analytical, with his approach, and shit, he's actually doing the live sound for Acid Bat, the reunion, and all that stuff. And I was fortunate, man, to listen in on one of the rehearsals where they practice, and the recordings of that shit was just wow. And if you just saw where he like the console he was working with and the space that he was utilizing, it was like, dude, he's a goddamn magician, a fucking wizard. And just knowing what I've heard from you on your releases thus far, dude, like you're right, y'all neck and neck. I mean, it's like wow.
It's like it's with the gear, the gear is definitely matters, but like you said, that knowledge, I mean, he's probably a very knowledgeable guy that takes the craft really serious.
Oh, 100%.
It's like you're not just a button pusher when you're a sound guy. He's paying attention to every tiny detail they could put, and that's what makes a guy like him so good. And that's why he's working. That's why
Yeah.
so many bands want him, because he does have that attention to detail. And I'll tell you, man, I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe having that NASA dad, that mathematician, like, it sort of brings you up a certain way. It sort of makes you think a certain way. You're
I don't doubt it.
analyzing everything. And that's why I know my father had a giant influence on me like that, just because I was holding up to those kind of standards is just It's tough. I mean, he was the greatest guy, but man, it's a little intimidating. You know, he's designing satellite orbits, and
Holy
I'm
shit.
opening up his work, and I'm like, man, I don't understand the first page of this, but it's insane.
Yeah. Oh, and the one more thing about Jared, he actually put out. He was involved with recording and producing the latest gruesome.
Oh, yep, I know what you're talking about already. I know
Yeah.
the album. I know the thing you're talking about.
Silent Echoes.
Yep, I know very well, and also going back to the 1349 stuff, I really I like that 1349 stuff a lot too, man.
Dude,
So
it's
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
brutal.
yeah,
Just fast paced, in your face, just fucking violent L shit.
yeah.
And man, saw them live at Inferno this past Inferno, and I was just like, that was the first time I ever saw them, on their home turf, and it was just just hits you in the goddamn gut with all how loud it is, and just like, goddamn, man.
I sort
But
of forgot how good they were, man. Like, and then I was on a drive coming back from like Orlando or something to Maryland, and I just put the discography on, and I listened to the whole 1349 discography on the drive. It was awesome, man. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah.
And what's funny is that I got some Norwegian friends, right? And even my Norwegian friends is like, you know, like, you like 1349? You're like, that's just a little too extreme for me. I was like, damn,
Oh, they're
man.
sick, dude. They're sick. They're one of the bands that are out right now that I really think are at the top of their game.
Oh
And I'm gonna mispronounce this, I'm sure, but they're listening to like Nordjevil. I don't know how to say it, but man, they're really good too. Like,
oh yeah,
man,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Um, it's like Gievo.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. I
yeah.
know I'm not pronouncing it right, and I have no clue, but I really like those
I
guys.
know. I'm gonna have a bunch of Norwegian friends fucking chime in,
Yeah.
later. Like, you just really butchered that fucking shit,
Yeah,
didn't you?
I know I did. So I know where. So I like, man, it's funny. I go through phases where I listen to discographies,
Yeah,
and
same here.
right now I'm going back on remember Mort Grinding? Like, I'm listening to their discography, right? I'm right in the middle of that. I'm on their fourth record right now. And I just get into these phases where I just want to hear this one band top to bottom, because it's like you said, with even like you listening to me, you hear a progression.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool if you listen to the first 1349 EP and then you just let it go all the way through, and it's like, wow, man, these guys are really upped their game every step of the way. And the thing with More Grinding, man, like, I'm on their fourth record right now, and from the first one, it's like night and day.
Yeah, I really appreciate when any band, they make it a point not to replicate, uh, they don't make the same album twice,
Nope.
because like that just goes to show you just how serious they take their craft and musicianship seriously, and and they want to challenge themselves. I know that something you clearly done as well,
I'm trying.
with your own music, dude, and um, and I guess I like to know what are some of the things as a guitar player, as a musician, that you do to like to keep the chops up? Like, what are the things that you take into your own practice time that just, what do you do to challenge
Yeah,
yourself?
I got you. See, I'm pretty fortunate, man. If I'm being honest with you, I'm really fortunate individual, because through my life I've sort of worked a certain way and set up my life to be in a certain position I'm in right now. So it's wonderful, man. Like, I just wake up and I can play guitar when I want to. You know what I mean? I don't. I mean, I have a little bit of a schedule I have to follow, but it's like it's more casual now, so it makes it less like, oh, I gotta go practice. I gotta do this thing. But I find myself always playing anyway. So before, as a child, a kid, I would run scales. I'd learn every possible thing. I'd learn these Balinese scales. I'd learn these Japanese. I'd learn these things. And I'd do picking exercise up and down the neck, constantly, all day long. And that was great because it obviously helps improve your chops, right?
Right.
But that doesn't help you with songwriting. So, now, like, I can pretty much play like everything that I want to play. I'm not trying to play Origin or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have a desire to play that. Otherwise, I'd have to go back to the chopping block and really break down and start over again. But now it's just like I find myself, I never really struggle to play what I'm trying to play. It's more or less putting notes together. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
proper order of notes and how many hits, and is it going to grind or is it going to play more single picking? How is it gonna react with the other riffs around it? And it's like I said, I'm not waking up going to a 9 to 5. I'm not, even when I'm going to work, I'm going to a studio. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah, you
not,
go to your studio, right?
yeah, and it's like I don't even really like, so I'm doing a lot of music I don't like at the studio, but I also have another guy that I can pawn off work to. Like today I went to work and I did like 4 or 5 hours of a music style that I hate, but I always give it, like, I respect whoever's in the studio because they're trying to do it too.
Right.
So I always give them my full attention. Like they get the best of me, even if I like it or I don't like it or what have you, they get the best of me. But I just find that I'm not, when I do pick up a guitar now, it's not to practice. It's not to put on the metronome and just run scales or run, up and down the neck, or let me learn some chords, or let me do this, or let me do that. It's not about that anymore. It's just more about like, man, I just want to sit down and create. And
Yeah.
in creating, it sort of keeps my chops up because I'm doing it every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I respect that, man, because I find myself, I've only been playing now just a little over 5 years, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, dude, like
Right?
I've I've told the story a few times. I was on for my day job. I was stuck in a hotel for like the better part of a year, and I was like, like 2 months in, I was like, I always had the fascination. I want to play guitar, and I just started investigating. It was around the time whenever Ola England unleashed one of his the Les Paul shaped guitar. And I was like, oh man, like I like that. And that was the last pointed guitar that the last round shaped guitar I ever bought. Everything else looks like this. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what is that? A BC Rich? What is that? I can't see that. What is that?
This is a
Ironbird or something? What is
no,
that?
radical instrument product by Rob Gray out in Utah.
Oh wow, dude,
He's the guy. He's the guy who builds guitars for municipal waste.
that's right. I do.
And
Did you send me his link, right? Did you send me that link, or somebody sent me a link of some custom stuff recently, man?
I sent you the link for Nick Adams who built my
That's what it
custom.
was. Nick. That's what it was. Nick.
And these guys went to the same Lutheran school, man. Like they're fucking insane, dude.
So building a guitar, that's an art, man. That's a craft. Like, God, man, that's a beautiful guitar, man.
Thank you, thank you. And so yeah, man. And I was just stuck in a hotel, for like the better part of a year. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna learn. I'm gonna, went ordered a guitar on my days off. Came in and had a friend of mine who's like, an instructor and a buddy, and off I went. And here I am now. And like, but to bring it home, I do sit with a metronome. I'm at that
Yeah.
point where I got to keep the chops up and all that shit. But and like writing riffs for me is like you said, it keeps everything fresh for me.
Right.
Because I make it a point not to play sloppy. Like if one of the best things I've been told is like if I am like frustrated on something I'm trying to create, just slow it down by 10 to
Right.
20%, and just like and just go slow with it, and not try to force the shit.
It's always better to play slow and correct than fast and sloppy.
Exactly.
Always. And that's for anything. That's for anything you do in life. You know what I mean? It's always better to get it right rather than just cram it in and make it, and then it feels sloppy and wrong. Um, Here's an interesting story. Speaking about like lessons and stuff. When I was a kid, man, like 13 or 14, I used to take lessons from this girl, believe it or not. And you're not going to know this band probably, but there was a record label called Shrapnel Records. It was only
Mhm.
shredders on that label.
Mhm.
So the girl was in a band on that label called Phantom Blue. Did okay or whatever. But her good friend was Marty Friedman.
Oh shit.
So I own, like, man, literally, I have Marty Friedman's handwritten practice notes. And like they're like, when I was a kid, I used to get all these fresh Marty Friedman practice notes. And I would just live in those things because his phrasings were so unique. And it's like, wow, man, I'm getting from one of the best who ever lived. I'm learning practice techniques from this guy. Now, I never took a true lesson from him,
Yeah.
but I almost had secondhand lessons
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was a girl. I got, man, believe it or not, I got some of his guitar cabinets. I got some of his old Dean Markley cabinets because he was so big time. He was just getting companies hand stuff to him. And he would just basically give it to this girl. And this girl had so much stuff. She just started giving it to me. I was like, man, so I got a lot of Marty Friedman stuff, but more importantly, I got his practice notes, which were
That's
insane.
insane,
I know, man.
dude.
I know it's crazy, man.
I should, man, I should have made this a fucking in-house, in-studio fucking podcast. So that way I could have saw that shit in fucking firsthand.
I'll see if I could probably find some for you and scan them, man. And like,
Dude, what?
and, you know, yeah, I have. I'm not listen, man. I'm not shitting you, dude. I have notebooks like this big, right? From like, I mean, like 10 of them from when I went to music school, like all my music school notes and all my practice notes and everything since the first lesson I ever took, like at a guitar shop. I have all of it just because I'm real meticulous like that. I have it all
Yeah.
categorized and things. And I'm thinking, dude, it shouldn't be too much of a problem to find at least a couple pages of these notes. Maybe I can find them and scan them and I'll send them over to you, man. All,
I would welcome that. Thank you. Because like
no,
any
no
any
problem.
little bit would help my ass, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, I can tell you're taking it serious. I mean, you're talking about 5 years worth of playing, and I see you're saying, "Dog, I'm on the metronome. I'm slowing it down. I'm doing it the right way." And it really shows, man. Like it really shows from what you sent me. It doesn't sound like you've been playing for 5 years. It sounds like you've
I
been playing for
appreciate
double
that. I
that, you
really
know?
do. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. Like, I'm my own worst critic, like just about anyone
yeah.
else, you know. So, but yeah, I just do what I can, man. And I just keep it going. I mean, it brings me a lot of joy to play it. And, I think that with the gear I have, I make the most out of my time with it. Uh,
Plus, a good guitar makes you want to play,
oh
doesn't it?
yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
just want to grab the guitar and play, you know?
dude, yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Man,
man.
so you went to the Atlanta Institute.
Yeah.
And that was to learn engineering and recording, I take it, or was it?
No, but
Oh,
no, it wasn't. Believe it or not, man, it was strictly for guitar.
oh,
I
okay.
went, yeah, I went for guitar because at one time I was like, listen, I'm going to play music and tour, and I'm going to just be a guitar instructor, right? But then I found out being a guitar instructor is not fun. It's just not fun because most of the time you're teaching kids how to play Nirvana or something, back in the day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're right.
I was like, man, I can't do this. So that was very short-lived. But all the while I had been building a studio just to record myself. You know what I mean? And then it sort of spawned into like, yo, record us, record us, record us. And then I was having like too many people come over to my like garage and even my parents' garage at one time when I was even like right in high school, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I knew at one time I was going to have to build something, but I had to get through music school first. I got through music school, still buying gear, buying gear, and then I put a little studio in I had a little like sort of these modular trailer houses, but it had a little garage on it.
Hmm.
So I built a studio in that, and then it just kept expanding and expanding, and then I worked at a couple studios, and then it spawned into now what it is. I have like a really nice facility, man. It's a nice facility. It's in an industrial complex, so I can do whatever I want, and it's really well designed, man. Floating floors, slanted ceilings, slanting walls, diffusion. I mean, it's a good studio
Yeah,
now.
I looked whenever you sent me the profile on Instagram, man. I looked through all the photos. I mean, it's just fucking top notch. And it's night sky, correct? Night
Nice guy, and believe it or not, you're gonna think I'm insane. I'm trying to sell it right now.
Really?
Sell it, yeah. I'm trying to
What?
sell it, man, because
Well,
I
you
want
with all
I
the
was
gear and everything?
everything, man. Turnkey. I'm selling it turnkey. It probably won't get a buyer because it's a lot of money, but if it does, great. I have a new plan to where I'm going to invest in really critical key pieces of equipment, right? Just really like over 30, 40 years of recording. Like I know what I need now.
Yeah.
Before I was just buying stuff like as a kid and figuring stuff out. Now I know what I need. So I'm thinking, man, I can take like 50 or 60 grand from this and buy the key pieces that I need to go to the next level. And
Mhm.
then instead of owning this giant, not giant, it's only like 14 or 1500 square feet, but instead of owning this complex where I have an overhead, I don't really want to record anybody else anymore. I just sort of want to retire and work on my own stuff. So
Mhm.
if I just get these key pieces, man, I could take my production to a whole nother level and not be frustrated going to record other people. So yeah, I'm trying to sell it right now. And I just don't like the way the industry is. I sort of hate the music industry and I hate the direction it's going in. Even with metal, even kind of with metal, but mostly regular music.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make an exit